It has been over a year since I've done my Noctowl PvP IV deep dive, and in the past 3 months, Noctowl has been dominating in the Play Pokemon Championship series. To give you a little idea of how good Noctowl has been, in just about every single tournament except for one, more Noctowls have made top cut percentage-wise than how many Noctowls were brought at the tournament, which means that compared to most other species of Pokemon, Noctowl could be considered an overperformer in that right. To add to that, half of the players that are currently qualifying for the World Championships use Noctowl on their teams. So Noctowl is a pretty big deal. And at the time of recording this video, we do have a Hoot Hoot Spotlight Hour coming up on Tuesday, January 29th. So this is a great opportunity to get some more IV spreads for Noctowl. So I figured, you know what, it might be a good idea to just look through all of the Noctowl PvP IVs, stats, and matchups again, and see if there's any updates, any little touch-ups to be made to Noctowl, given how competitive it is nowadays. And then to spice this up a little bit more too, I also have anecdotes from 5 of the 9 world qualifying players that use Noctowl on their teams, so it could be pretty insightful. Hey, Ryan Swag from the future past here, I guess. This morning, we got the Season 13 announcement for Go Battle League, and one of the changes that was announced was that Wing Attack's energy gains are getting buffed. And I just wanted to put in this clip before I post the video, letting you guys know that the Wing Attack buff doesn't change anything of significance in this update to the Noctowl PvP IV Deep Dive. It's a energy change, not a power change. So for that reason, the attack breakpoints are still the same. And then I validated some specific spot matchups that involved the charge move timing of like Shadow Ball and Sky Attack in relationship to the Wing Attack buff, and it still tracks for consistency. So I'll make a video that goes over this in more detail. Just know that all the numbers in this video are still consistent with this Wing Attack buff. So the first thing that's changed with the old Noctowl PvP IV Deep Dive is the Azumarill Slayer list here, which uses an attack weight of 105.06 and a defense weight of 117.58 and an HP weight of 168. Originally, I had it cut at 167 HP. After some review, I found that 168 is a lot more consistent, so the safety range for me is more like 168 to 169 instead of 167 to 168. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal though if you do have like a higher defense iteration, like if you're clearing like 119 defense, you probably could get away with 167 HP, all things considered. So if you already built one with 167 HP, it's not that big of a deal. I just like the 168 a little bit more. And then of course all these lists are linked on the article on Game Press, which is linked in the description as per usual with these PvP IV deep dives here. So yeah, and then also I feel you could probably drop the defense down a little bit more if you want to, but if you are going to go that route, then I would try to get higher on the HP stat, like 170, 171, or maybe even 172. So yeah, so what's significant about this attack range here is that it gets the breakpoint on the rank 1 Azumarill. Higher attack weights will get the breakpoint on higher defense weighted Azumarill, and this allows you to overcome Azumarill in the 2-2 shield situation and possibly the 1-1 shield situation, circumstances depending. So it's pretty useful. And then there is a lower attack breakpoint for the Galarian Stunfisk, but Galarian Stunfisk can stack defense pretty quickly and pretty easily, so having like this higher attack weight can make it a lot more consistent there too. And yeah, if you have that higher attack weight, then you can overcome the Galarian Stunfisk at a shield advantage. So if you have 1 shield, they have no shield, you can beat them. If it's 2-1, you can beat them. So it's pretty valuable for that reason. Then I also added a bulk focused Noctowl IV spread. So in the past, I didn't have a bulk spread. I mostly focused on the stat ranges for the Azumarill and Galarian Stunfisk matchups. And then for bulk, I was like, I don't know. I don't have time for this high stat product, right? So I took a closer look at this now because it is such a high performing Pokemon. Maybe people would prefer to have a bulk focused build. So yeah, so I was boiling down the bulk, and it's really hard to say what the specific like defense and HP cutoffs are, because for a lot of the matchups it can really, you know, depend on the attack stat of your opponent versus your defense stat as far as how much HP you're going to want. But what I found was that about 118.27 defense with at least 117 HP was most consistent for a lot of specific significant bulk based matchups. If you do have like a wicked high defense stat on the Noctowl here, like if you're pumping well above the 120, I think you could get away with 168 HP just because of charge move breakpoints. But I found that for most situations, 171 HP was being pretty significant. And then interesting thing too is that if you are up against them like an attack weighted Alolan Ninetales, for like the rank 1 Alolan Ninetales to charm damage, you get a breakpoint at about like 118 something. But if they're highly attack weighted, then you could still reach that third sky attack in the 2 shield situation if you have at least 172 HP. But because you're probably not getting the attack breakpoint, I mean, I guess you could, if they got a really high attack stat, you could reasonably get the attack breakpoint. Then you could possibly beat them there. So something to note there, at least for the 172 HP spreads here, that potential. But if you meet the defense breakpoint on them, then you still beat them in that situation anyways. Now you will notice that there is also an attack weight here. I got 104.23, and that is the minimum attack weight needed for the rank 1 Galarian Stunfisk specifically. It's just having that potential to get that breakpoint is so useful that I think it would be strange to just overlook it, especially when like the rank 4 is going to have precisely the same wins as like the rank 1, for example. But now you got a couple more wins because you got that attack stat that will consistently get you the Galarian Stunfisk breakpoint. And then finally, we have this goofy high attack weight build here for Noctowl, the Alolan Ninetales Slayer, if you will. You could also consider this to be the Mirror Slayer build as well. So the thing going on is that we have 106.36 attack to get a attack breakpoint on the Alolan Ninetales, and then if you have at least 172 HP with that, then against the Charm Alolan Ninetales, you'll consistently be able to overcome it in the 2-2 shield situation. And in the 1-1 shield situation too, circumstances depending. So that's pretty exciting. And then you also have a high attack weight, so you're going to get CMP in the mirror, which allows you to overcome the 1-1 and 2-2 shield situations. And then at least the top 5 on this list, I'm pretty sure can do this. The other ones can get a little bit flaky depending on the opposing Noctowl IVs. But in the 0-0 shield situation, I know at least the top 5 here, more often than not, will be able to survive the charge move from the opposing Noctowl and then KO them right back. So that's like another interesting thing for locking down the mirror with these Noctowls. And then one goofy thing to note for the 174 HP here is that it can overcome Tapu Fini in the 2-1 shield scenario pretty consistently. So I think in general, if you have any Noctowl that happen to have 174 HP, those are definitely worth holding on to just for that. And I think in a lot of situations that HP could help them overcome like their lack of defense or something too. So just an interesting highlight there for the Noctowl. So all these different attack breakpoints and IV spreads are fantastic and all. What are the World Championship qualifying players actually using on their Noctowls? And the results are in favor of the bulk weighted Noctowls. Only 2 of the 7 players that I've talked to so far had an attack weighted Azumarill Slain kind of Noctowl going on. The other 5 had more heavy bulk weighted ones, 3 of them having the rank 1 Noctowl in particular. But in talking to those trainers, 2 of them said that they would have preferred to run an Azumarill Slayer type build, but they didn't have satisfactory IVs to do that. So as a result, they conceded to just bring in their bulk weighted ones. So I'd say it's kind of 50-50ish in that respect. I think it comes down to what kind of meta you're expecting, you know, what kind of weaknesses you see in your team, what your personal kind of play style is, and then of course, above all else, what IVs you actually have to work with. I think when it comes to a lot of these metas, like I personally wouldn't be expecting to run into too many Azumarill at these tournaments, so I'd probably favor a higher bulk weighted one myself. But in some of the fields, we did see a lot of Azumarills show up to rock and roll, and having that Azumarill breakpoint could be beneficial in those situations. So I think it comes down to you, your expectations, and what kind of advantages that you want to play up when it comes to this. So that's all I gotta say about Noctowl's PvP IVs for now. Definitely check out the article on GamePress, link in the description. I go over a lot more like matchup scenarios than I do in this video, talking about like specific shield situations and breakpoint and bulk checks that could matter for stuff. I just didn't want to make this video too long here because it's just like an update video, right? So tons of information packed in that article there, linked in the description. And if you do have any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. Everybody keeps saying that Wing Attack's getting buffed here, but This looks like a wing attack nerf to me.